Okay, time for a little recap. If you are familiar with Jeff's work, you will notice that he is insistent on piercing that bubble before he gets going. We are undergoing a systemic change, and to really understand this change, it is important to suspend the many preconceived ideas we have about the way our world works. As we think about the future of jobs, Jeff points out that when we think about the future, we tend to change one variable while keeping everything else constant. It is because we map job loss to our current reality that raises questions like, without a job, how will I afford a house? How will I feed my kids? What will I do without any income? These are all fair questions under the existing system, but they assume all other variables remain constant. What if we are asking the wrong questions? What if jobs themselves were not meant to last forever? What if the future of wealth distribution from productivity gains comes in the form of prices, not paychecks? What if jobs are just another form of technology that becomes obsolete once we have a superior system? We're not facing a crisis of work, we're facing a crisis of imagination. In my life, I've learned to pay close attention when someone is selling you fear. Fear is necessary to avoid danger, and for the same reason, it is also an effective way to spring people into action. Fear of losing purpose, income, a home, and meaning can all be used to catalyze action. We've been taught that our survival depends on employment, that to live we must earn the right to live. But that equation only holds true inside a system where money is debt. In a debt-based monetary system, almost all money enters the economy as a loan. When a bank creates money, it does so by lending, and every dollar comes with interest. That means two things. First, someone must always be earning money, because debt won't pause. Interest compounds whether you're working or not. If you stop earning, you don't just stop progressing, you fall behind. Second, the system requires continuous income to stay solvent. Even if technology makes production easier, cheaper, and faster, people still need wages. Not because work is necessary, but because debt demands payment. So employment becomes a survival requirement, not a productive necessity. This is why technological progress feels threatening instead of liberating. If machines reduce the need for human labor, incomes fall, but debts remain. The efficiency gains don't free people, they destabilize them. In a debt-based system, you don't work because the world needs your labor. You work because the monetary system needs your cash flow. We mistake jobs for value creation, when in reality, they're often just a mechanism for servicing debt. We think we work because society needs it, but in reality, does it have more to do with the fact that debt never stops charging interest? Imagine someone working 40 hours a week making a product. Let's just say making nails to keep it simple. Then, someone invents a machine that can make perfect nails infinitely faster. That person is now unemployed, but the world now has as many nails as it needs. In theory, this machine is providing tremendous value to society by eliminating the need to make nails all day. The same amount of value still is being created while freeing up time. Now carry this logic across to everyone, and you can see how this should be providing tremendous value to everyone. But prior to an open and permissionless protocol like Bitcoin, we had no way for value created by technology to accrue back to all individuals. That is not due to some inherent law of nature. It is only because we didn't have access to a better system. Under our current system, the value created by the nail machine stops flowing to the worker, and their income is taken away. Many understandably think the cost of goods and services come down with this new machine, but in practice, costs often never come down at all. Why? Wages are flexible to the downside as people can lose their jobs, but prices are sticky to the upside, and monetary expansion masks gains in efficiency, so prices remain elevated or even continue to rise. This creates the tension we are all familiar with, where productivity improves, but lived experience worsens. Now imagine instead that this worker denominates their world in Bitcoin. The nail machine replaces their job, but saves humanity an incredible amount of time. This value flows to everyone denominating their world in Bitcoin via lower prices, and the purchasing power of the worker's savings is increasing proportionately. I like to think of it like everyone holding an equity share of the universe. By saving and denominating in Bitcoin, any value created anywhere in the world now has the rails to flow directly back to you. Bitcoin makes savings a form of equity in the universe itself, a claim not on someone else's debt, but on everyone's progress. In this world we are building, work transforms from the price of survival to an act of contribution. When the burden of jobs are lifted, time itself becomes the dividend of progress. We should be getting more time back, not less. And with this time, we are free to learn new skills and pursue our own interests, which in turn will provide greater value to others. Don't underestimate the potential of people that are passionate about what they do. Automation does not eliminate meaning, it erases coercion and gives back our most valuable and universal currency: time. I do want to acknowledge that even in Bitcoin, time is still required to heal all of this misallocation. This is not a failure of Bitcoin, it's the inertia of the physical world. Labor contracts are sticky, housing and infrastructure repricing is slow, and people experience loss of income before price relief feels tangible. Social contracts and psychological anchors don't update block by block like the network does. So I want to leave you with 4 thoughts that I think will help bridge this gap. 1. As Jeff often points out, even modest Bitcoin savings make a difference. In the existing system, eroding savings are a liability. In Bitcoin, savings are a buffer. 2. Work doesn't disappear overnight, but it will likely fractionalize. Instead of all or nothing, there will likely be short-term and project-based work. You may not lose your job, but you may need to plan on coordinating fewer projects. 3. As Bitcoin reprices time, the cost of capital collapses. When savings stop melting, patience becomes viable, and the cost of capital comes down to provide some relief. 4. Energy infrastructure and flexible loads like Bitcoin mining help with likely variables caused by the economic transition by providing flexibility and resilience. In inflationary systems, jobs disappear first and prices never fall, so the hardship is perpetual and indefinite. In Bitcoin, productivity lowers income and prices together, but not instantly. The difference is the pain doesn't compound forever. All of the misallocation will heal with time instead of amplifying it. I don't claim the transition will be seamless, but knowledge is the antidote to fear, and I find Bitcoin literacy really helps. One thing we glossed over but will have a profound impact is that most companies are failing when denominated in Bitcoin. They just don't know it yet. Debt-based economies can disguise this fact, but it is just postponing the inevitable correction. Physics won't bend. Once you see, through Bitcoin, that most of the economy is measuring activity, not progress, you understand that a few percent in fiat profits is a failing business that is a net drag on society. This is uncomfortable, but we have to face this reality. At the very least, we have to recognize it. The most pernicious part of this is that on paper, it looks like your profits are productive, but it is an illusion based on an arbitrary measuring stick. As people begin to recognize this, fragile, debt-dependent industries are going to break, as every price expressed in Bitcoin must ultimately justify itself against the opportunity cost of holding Bitcoin. Our cities will change dramatically, and I suspect empty skyscrapers will become a relic of a debt-based monetary past. Jeff describes how many are still stuck in the process of pricing Bitcoin from the existing system, rather than denominating everything directly in Bitcoin. This is somewhat expected when learning a new language, and that process can be difficult and awkward. I grew up going back and forth between the US and Japan, and I eventually became comfortable pricing the world in both currencies, but it didn't happen overnight. Every time I would switch between languages and currencies, I would mentally price the native currency in the one I was more accustomed to. When I entered the US, I would see dollar prices and mentally convert them to yen, because that is what I had a framework for. But as I transacted in dollars, eventually I would stop converting prices into yen and denominate everything in dollars. This cognitive shift can take some time. The more time you spend in one or the other, the easier it becomes. Jeff points out many are still pricing Bitcoin through their native currency by converting Bitcoin into dollars, euros, or yen. This is a necessary first step for most, but the true potential of Bitcoin becomes more tangible when you can bypass the cognitive gymnastics and price the world directly in Bitcoin. Prices everywhere are dropping as they should be when we make progress. Under an honest accounting system, prices fall as technology improves. The more efficient we get, the more everyone benefits. Intuitively, we all know this. Bitcoin is building a future where everyone is born into a world of potential rather than one saddled in debt. The proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime, feels increasingly relevant. When we get good at solving problems, we don't run out of problems. I suspect we face increasingly meaningful and rewarding problems to solve. It is humanity's difficulty adjustment. The problems that the next generation will face will not be the same ones as ours. They will need to make their own mistakes and adjust. I feel the responsibility not to hand them the fish, but to make sure the tools and resources are available, namely knowledge and energy. The current system lacks foresight by attempting to hand over a pile of fish, like houses, gold, or commercial real estate, that is likely going to be more of a burden than a utility. Meanwhile, the Bitcoin network will equip posterity with honest information, energy infrastructure, and the navigational tools they need to face the unique challenges of their time. For the first time in history, we can build a system where machines free people, not enslave them. The end of jobs isn't the end of purpose. It's the beginning of our potential. Debt is a claim on the future. When no one owns the future can finally belong to those who arrive in it. All the while, Jeff was quick to remind me that the beauty of Bitcoin is that it allows us to pay attention to the present. Time is our greatest asset, and I truly appreciate Jeff sharing some of his with me. Let me know if you have any feedback and where you may agree or disagree. There's a lot more to unpack here, so see you next time.